Hello, my merry band of Osatters, and welcome to this, the 74th episode of the Sockmatician podcast. My name is Nathan Taylor, broadcasting to you from somewhere in North London, and I am known over the internet as Sockmatician. How are you? Oh, I'm so excited. I want to crack straight on, but last episode I forgot to do the number stuff that I'd started with episode 72. So and so it begins. A number of people had said how much they enjoyed it, so I want to make sure that becomes a regular feature of this podcast, and this being number 74, now we can learn about number 74. I just go to Wikipedia for this. It's kind of interesting. There's not a great deal to say about number 74. Obviously, it's an even number, which means it is equally divisible by the number 2. It is a palindromic number in bases 6 and 36. Which is 202, little number 6. I'll put that on the screen down here so you know what I'm talking about. And 36 is 2236. For anyone who doesn't know what base 6 means or base 36 means, we have our normal numbering system is base 10. So it means each group of numbers is 10. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, and then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then 20. So every time you get through another 10 numbers, you change the digit next to it. See what I mean? So the 10s go up. That's base 10. So if you're base 6, you get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 0, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 2, 0. So does that make any sense at all? I ain't going to do it for 36, don't even ask me to. So that's that. It is, this is really the only interesting thing to say about it. It is the 21st distinct semi-prime. Now a semi-prime number, obviously we know that prime numbers are the numbers which are only divisible by 1 and themselves. So 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 27. They're all not 27, don't write in. 29, don't write in. They're all prime numbers, and because they can only be divided by 1 and themselves. Well, a semi-prime can only be divided by, well, that's not true. A semi-prime is the product of 2 prime numbers. Product means when you multiply them together. So 6 is the product of 2 and 3, so 6 is semi-prime. And the 2 it doesn't even say. What do you get? 37 and 2? I think. Yeah. So it's the 21st distinct semi-prime and the 11th in the form 2. Oh yeah, so it will be 2 multiplied by 34. I'm doing this in my head. I'm not doing this. I should have planned, shouldn't I? Now, enough about 74. Bye-bye. So in terms of why we're here and why I'm so excited, because I have just come back from Iceland. That is why this episode is called The Land of Fire and Ice. And oh my goodness, did I have an amazing time. Ben and I went together. So let me tell you a little bit about the background as to why we were there. 21 years ago, I think it was, 21 years ago, I was in the Rocky Horror Show. Actually, 22 years ago I started in 1998. But the later part of the year in 99, so 21 years ago, I was still with the show, and I did on and off about 3.5 years. And we had a 3-month going ever so well. We had a 3-month tour of the UK, and it's when I started playing Brad. I'd begun the show as one of the Phantoms, one of the ensemble members who cover all the lead parts, but I took over the role of Brad in my own right. I was still covering Frankenfurter at that point. I had a lot of fun doing it, and Frankenfurter for that tour was played by Darren Day. And in the cast as well was a girl known to me then as Kristen Johnson. And Kristen Johnson. It's nothing particularly remarkable or exotic about that. If your name is Kristen Johnson, I apologise. I'm coming to the point. It's not her real name. Kristen Johnson is Icelandic, and she and her husband Karl had been living in the UK while she studied at Mount View and became an actress. She's a wonderful singer, and she was one of the Phantoms, and we got on really well. And 21 years later, we're still good friends. Now, Kristen and I don't see much of each other because Kristen no longer exists. A few years after we did the tour, Kristen became her real name again. She and her husband moved back to Iceland because she was expecting their first child, and they wanted to bring their the baby who became their daughter. They wanted to bring her up back in Iceland, so they flew back to lived in Reykjavik for a little while, and ever since then, Thoranna, which is her real name, Kristen is her middle name, and the Icelandic version of Johnson, because she's female, is Jónsdóttir, so which means John's daughter. If you don't know anything about Icelandic surnames, then I have the same surname as my father. In fact, so does my sister and my mother when she was still married to my dad. We all had the same family name, which is not actually Taylor. My real name is Gage, and that's how British and I guess most American communities work their surnames. You just go down the line. But in Iceland, you take the father's first name and add it to son if you are son, if you are a boy, and dóttir, which is daughter, if you are a girl. So Kristen's Thoranna, as she now is, Thoranna's dad is named Jón, so she's Jónsdóttir. Thoranna Kristen Jónsdóttir. It's far from Kristen Johnson. And oh my goodness, she has been trying to get me and then me and Ben over to visit them in Iceland for, they moved back in 1994, so 16 years. 16 years we've been saying, oh yeah, it'd be lovely. And you never do. You never do. I'm gonna share something with you all, which you may or may not know. Many of you will remember probably that actually you may not know this at all. I used to be in a show called Naked Boys Singing, and this is a, you know me, tangent, but this is a very important thing. It's based on the idea that we always say to people, we have such busy lives, and people say, oh, we must do lunch. You go, yeah, that'd be lovely, let's do that one day. One day never comes unless you make it someday. One day is never going to happen. It's always going to. It's rather like in the Alice Through the Looking Glass books when, I can't remember which character it is, says to Alice, I think it's the Duchess, and she says, jam yesterday and jam tomorrow, but never jam today. Every day, when you get to tomorrow, well, that's now today, so there's never jam today. But there can be jam tomorrow, so it's always something you can look forward to, but it never actually happens. We do this all the time with people. It'd be lovely, yeah, let's call each other, let's get a date in the diaries, yeah, it'd be lovely, yeah. And you never do it. Well, when I was in Naked Boys Singing, one of the members of the cast, his name was Rudy Last, and he was a big party animal, and he was the life and soul of every party he was ever at. He was hilarious, he was funny, he was witty, he was naughty, he was outrageous, all of the things I like and admire in a person. And we were all very, very close on that show. There's something about getting naked together on stage that will do that to a company of actors. And we always used to say his nickname was Rudy to the Last. He was Rudy to the Last, last being his surname. A little over a year ago, Rudy died, and he was only 31. And just before he died, it's 2 years ago now. Just before he died, he and I got back in touch. We hadn't been in contact with each other for a couple of years, but we got back in touch via WhatsApp, and we kept saying to each other, "Let's do it. Let's get together. Oh, it'd be lovely to see each other." And we didn't. And then he died, and I really, really regret that. I keep the messages that we sent, and the last time I heard from him was just a couple of weeks before he died. It was just a very sad accident, and what it did is it's given me, I call it Rudy's gift. Rudy's gift to me was don't put it off. Don't wait for jam tomorrow. Wait for jam to have your jam today. So don't wait for it at all. So very often now, what I'm trying to do is when someone says, oh yeah, it'd be lovely to see you, I say, when? Let's get a date in the diary. And even if it means that we both have to change that plan, and even if it means that diary date gets changed several times, as long as it's something in the diary, you work towards it. And over the last 18 months, I've seen so many old friends that I wouldn't have seen otherwise, people I hadn't been in contact for a while. So Rudy to the last, Rudy's gift to me is that. And so after 16 years, finally, Ben and I said, well, let's just do it. Let's just do it. So we had a 5-day little away break. I thought, this is how bad I am at remembering details. I thought Thoranna was still living in Reykjavik. She's not. She lives in a town called Njarðvík, which is very close to Keflavik Airport, which is the international airport in Iceland, which is where we were flying into. Oh my goodness. We were there for 5 days. I don't ever want to stay with even the most generous, gracious hosts for longer than 3 nights at a time, because I think it's asking for trouble. I don't want to become a burden on people, and so what our plan was to spend 3 nights with Karl and Thoranna, and then take 2 nights in Reykjavik in a hotel, which is exactly what we did. Thoranna was very excited that we were coming, and she wanted to give us a really good show of what Iceland was capable of. Now, they've been having a run of very, very, very bad weather over there, and oh my goodness, we had the best weather ever! Karl came and picked us up at the airport in Keflavik and drove. It's only like a 10-minute drive from the airport to their house, which is really, really, really amazing. And I had met both of their children before, the last time they came to the UK, which was about 3 years ago. But they were much younger, and we didn't get a chance to really chat because their mother and I. So Isolde and Isak, hello if you're watching. But it was really lovely to get to know them both. And the first night, we were talking about how much Ben and I really, really desperately wanted to see the Northern Lights. And we knew that the chances were that we probably wouldn't be able to. We'd looked at doing Northern Lights tours where you get on a bus and you sort of go off into the darker regions of the area rather than near the cities, where there's more chance of seeing it if it's very, very faint. And I'd got an app. It's an aurora hunting app. And Ben and I have been checking it obsessively leading up to our trip, going, well, but of course it's kind of random. It's not like weather patterns that sort of have a logicality to them, that if it's over here and it's moving in that direction, it's going to come there. The Northern Lights are caused by solar flares, and that's happening 93 million miles away in the sun. It takes a long time for the particles from those solar flares to reach our atmosphere, where they burn up and show up as the aurora. And it's just like, yes, so you can predict that there will be activity, but it's not this. It doesn't move around in the same way. It's just, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I know so many people who've gone in search of the Northern Lights and been disappointed. So we were prepared for that. While we were there, Karl and Isolde went off to collect their brother from a sports practice, and we were just sort of chatting back at the house, and then suddenly Isolde came running and she went, Northern Lights! I thought she'd be really cool because she knew what we wanted to see, and we knew the chance was so slim. She went, no, get your shoes on now! So we quickly raced and get our shoes on. It was freezing cold because it was clear skies. Obviously you can't see the aurora when there's clouds. So we went rushing outside, and there it was. Literally, we went onto their drive and looked, front door behind us, just looked at the houses opposite, and above the houses there was this dark arc of green light. I say dark because it's not giving off light, but it was kind of bright in the sky. You could see it very, very clearly. And it was like, and it doesn't do anything. And I was thinking that, okay, it's great. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was awe-inspired by it, but I was really surprised because you see video footage and it's sort of doing all of this kind of stuff. I now realise most of the footage you ever see of the aurora is tampered with. It has been tampered with. It is not necessarily something that shows up to not as brilliant and vibrantly as you see it on television, and we were seeing some good stuff by all accounts. It'll often be captured with a very, very open lens, so it's taking much more light than the human eye can see, and any footage that you see is often speeded up so that you get movement, because what was happening, yes, it was changing, it was moving, but it was very, very slow. And it just looked like this green, very shallow green rainbow going across the sky. Well, we got into a car and we went out somewhere brighter, darker, so we could see it more brightly. And it was just amazing, absolutely amazing. So some of these are the photographs that we were getting, and they are absolutely magnificent. This was on the first night. We got 3 nights in a row of the aurora. This was the first night. And look at this one. Look, you see that that sort of big scoop. That did move. There were 2 sort of parallel lines of the aurora, and then at one point it sort of broke up here, and this one came down and joined that one. So it is thrillingly magnificent. Anyway, enough of that. I could show you that stuff all day. Second night and third night, we got the aurora again. I'm going to jump about a bit because I want to talk about the Northern Lights on its own this time. Actually, do you know what? Let's skip that. We'll come to that when we get to it. So the next day, so exciting, so cold. Ben and I had very mercifully, we had bought heavy winter coats. I particularly susceptible to the cold because I'm kind of skinny, there's not much of me, so I really wanted to make sure that I was well bundled up, so we bought some snow hiking boots, only about 30 quid, and I invested in a heavy duty skiing jacket, because one that I can if I want to. The hood comes up and it zips up to about here, and I can just be seen by that much, or not at all, because I can completely cover myself over. And it's really, really warm. It's 100% waterproof, because I thought if I get wet at the beginning of a day and we're out all day in the cold, in the snow, then I am not going to be happy at all. Iceland is bleak and barren and beautiful in the winter. It has a majesty, and if you're wondering what that is, I'll tell you about that later. It's a little necklace that I got while I was over there. I'll show you that in a moment. It has a majesty and a grandeur to it, which is just sort of monumental in its aspect. So the next day we had a little bit of a tour around some of the sites from the Golden Circle. We went to, was it I'm starting to get confused. No, that first night, while we were there, we went to visit Thoranna's parents, Magdalena, Siri, and Jon. So Thoranna was very, very. I'm sort of also, because I've now been talking about her as Kristen. I've been trying to train myself into saying Thoranna, because of course I knew her initially as Kristen, and it's very difficult to change your perceptions of somebody when they change their name. It's very weird. So Thoranna was very insistently keen, rightly so, that we should meet her mother particularly, and me particularly, because guess what, knitters? Magdalena Siri is a very, very good knitter. She designs and knits beautiful shawls and wraps for sale, and her work is magnificent. There's a piece that she had just finished. It was in a very, very gossamer lace-weight mohair, very, very fuzzy, and it was all kind of like a hyper-extended feather and fan kind of design, but really just a long, wide rectangle. Really very, very beautiful indeed. But it was covered over in little, progress markers, the clippy stitch markers, had about 15 all over it. And when we asked what they were for, she said, "I don't like that stitch." So it's just a misshapen stitch, which she's going to go in there and she's going to fiddle with it and she's going to make it perfect. She's an absolute perfectionist. Her tension is exquisite. Her blocking techniques are amazing. But all of her designs, they're so beautiful. Every single thing that she designs comes from her environment and her landscape. And she was showing me this one, and it was a very lacy shawl. But as the progress of it had sort of long lines, and then it got into more and more broken up lace work, and then a real frothy end, and it was in her words, it was the waves at the beach, the sort of the long lines as approaching the beach, and when they break, and then at the end, the pebbles with the foam, when the waves come back. It was just so beautiful. And the colours she uses a lot of natural plant dyes as well. She's a very crafty lady. She does Tunisian crochet, she crochets, she makes paper. She basically, if it's a craft and it can be done in the home, Magdalena Siri is going to be doing it. And it was just a joy. I'd taken a few of my designs to show her as well. And she was really interested in the double knitting stuff that I do, because I don't think she'd done any double knitting at all. She may have done some in the past, but she doesn't really do a great deal of it, I think. Not sure of that, but she was interested to see what can be done in that field, and I was just blown away by the traditional beauty in the simplicity that she finds in the world around her in order to put it into a shawl which is gorgeous. Does that make sense? Really, really, really loved the work. I was immensely impressed. I had a lovely fish supper there because Iceland obviously has a lot of good fresh fish. Now, I'm not much of a fish eater, but it was really nice. It was interesting. Karl was saying that the fish they have there, he said, is always so fresh because it's caught and cooked on the same day, whereas the fish that we eat in this country is usually 1 or 2 days old. He said it always tastes very fishy. And he was right. It was light, it was flaky, it was lovely. There was cod in one dish and haddock in another. It was really, really lovely. So maybe I do like fish better than I thought, but maybe I only like it when it's very, very fresh. The next day, Thoranna went off to work, and Karl was going to be chaperoning us for the morning, the beginning part of the day initially. Now Karl, coming to this in a moment, Karl works at the Blue Lagoon. The Blue Lagoon. Yes, the actual Blue Lagoon. So for anyone who doesn't know about the Blue Lagoon in Iceland, it is a geothermal mineral pool that you can go and swim in. And there's a resort that's built up around it. There's hotels there, and there's treatments and spas and things like that. But actually, I always thought it was naturally occurring. It's not. It's very much man-made as a pool for swimming in. It's a sort of accidental man-made thing. The history of the Blue Lagoon is that there's a geothermal electricity plant there, energy plant there, because this is water which is seawater, which is in a chamber 2,000 meters below the Earth's crust, or below the surface, into the Earth's crust. 2,000 meters, like 2 kilometers down, and it gets heated up to enormous temperatures and rises up through cracks in the ground as steam. Now, the steam is used to drive turbines to create energy, because I think all of Iceland's energy is renewable, either geothermal or solar or wind powered, I think, or hydroelectric power, I think as well. They have sort of dams and things. And all of it's renewable, and then once this like water, which is hundreds of degrees because of the steam, once it starts to cool, it has to go somewhere, and so this pool, this overflow as the water was cooling, so it hasn't been heated by a nuclear process or anything like that. It's literally been heated up in the ground, and then it needs to cool when it comes out once it's been spent. And the man who started the Blue Lagoon as a pond, as a pool for swimming in, he had psoriasis apparently, and had been walking around in this lovely hot water up to his knees, and found that his psoriasis was miraculously cured. So there's a very unusual, I hesitate to say unique, but a very unusual set of circumstances which collect there. There's a particular type of algae which is not found anywhere else in the world, which is has become known for rejuvenating the skin, and is used in a lot of beauty products around the world for making your skin look younger and improving the collagen aspect of your skin. There's silica, naturally occurring silica, is white mud, pure white mud, which is in minerals that's in the water as it comes up, when that's deposited all over the place. So the water itself is milky blue colour. And the heat and other minerals and other things I don't know about all go together to create this wonderful rejuvenating and restorative water mix. So the pool, it's very expensive. But because Karl works there, we got him for free. I'm skipping ahead though, because we first of all we went on a little tour of some of the stuff that's in the Golden Circle. The Golden Circle is I'm going to get this all out of order because I really can't remember. The Golden Circle is a sort of a diamond shape of road which connects some of the major naturally occurring landmarks and tourist attractions. It starts from Reykjavik and goes up into as you look at me this way. If you've got Iceland, which is here, then looking at this way, then Reykjavik is, you've got the fjords up on this side, and Reykjavik is sort of about here on this little lip that goes there that way, so the Golden Circle comes from Reykjavik and sort of goes that way like that. So if you have ever been, the likelihood is you've done some of this. You can get bus tours, but we had host tours. Our host was there. We started off at Gunnachver, I think it's pronounced. I was doing my best to get my tongue around as many of the Icelandic words as I possibly could because I love learning this stuff. Gunna is a witch, and it's a geothermal boiling pot and the steam coming out of it. Now, the interesting thing was we were there quite early in the morning and they have fairly short daylight hours at the moment. The sun doesn't come up till about 10 o'clock in the morning and it goes down about 5. But we were having the most extraordinary views of the sun coming up over the snow and the mountains as we were. This kind of looks a bit like that. Just stunning. But there you go. It was just so refreshing and cold and revitalising. So we started off on our way out at Gunnachver. What did we know? We went to a place called, the Bridge Between Continents. The Bridge Between Continents looks like this. Look at that bridge. That bridge is actually, the ridge you can see there is the gap between the two tectonic plates of North America and the Eurasian plate. This is where they meet, and Iceland is a volcanic product of that's come up, so it's not really on one of the plates, but it is on the rift between the two, and those two plates are moving away from each other at I think it's about 2 centimeters a year. So this bridge has to keep getting longer and longer. So this bridge you can walk across literally goes from one tectonic plate to another. It's quite amazing. I enjoyed that, and then we went to Gunnachver and we saw these amazing steam funnels billowing up out of the ground. Now, do you know what a Brockenspector is? Brockenspectors are a particular type of shadow and rainbow effect that you sometimes see if you are in a plane above the clouds, and if you're looking out of the window and the sun is in the opposite direction. So if the sun's up there and you're in the plane here looking down at the clouds that way, you can see the shadow of the plane on the clouds. If you see that, you can often see a bright circle of like a rainbow all the way around it. It's a weird phenomenon that happens when you're looking at, it has to be mist because it has to be something that will refract the light of the water, and the sun needs to be directly behind you as you're looking into the mist. If you're in a plane, the circle will be around the plane because that's where you are. But if you're not in a plane, the circle will be around your head because that's where your eyes, that's where your point of focus is. And in this steam, and God, it stank, and it was really, really salty because it's seawater that's coming up from the top, from the chambers underneath, and it stank of sulphur. This whole area was really, really rank with sulphur. It was like proper rotting eggs, but so much billowing out. You can see all the stuff that's going on here. Look at this video. Look carefully at this video. If you can see my shadow in there, is there? You see, I'll stop it. I'll stop it. Freeze frame it there for you, and oh, do you know what? Let's zoom in like that so you can see. Look, there's the Brockenspector. How about that? Amazing. And go. So you can see that the thing is around my head, and what's amazing about it is, if there's two people there, I see one around my head and not around that person's, but they see one around their head and not around my shadow. It's kind of amazing. But look at the way the steam is coming towards us in different things. These shadows are jumping towards us, towards the camera like that. I wouldn't be at all surprised if this is the phenomenon where a lot of ghost stories and traditions come from, because look at that, it looks so ethereal, they look like they're standing. And at one point Karl walked up to my shadow, walked into it, and you can just clearly see, it's almost like he's talking to this standing up person. It's just projection onto the steam of my shadow. And with the halo as well, it's really, really eerie and ethereal. Absolutely beautiful. What else did we get up to? Oh, we went to... that's when we went into the Blue Lagoon. Now, the Blue Lagoon is absolutely beautiful. It's... the water's hot. It's like 38, 39 degrees. And at some points really hot. Some points obviously it's sort of... The hot water will, where it comes in, it's hotter and then it cools down. But it was so misty because it's so cold. It was probably -2, 3 or 4 degrees outside, centigrade that is. Golly, it's so beautiful. It was so calm and peaceful when we were there in the morning, because you can't see anybody. It's like gorillas in the mist. I felt like one of those Japanese monkeys that, the snow monkeys of Japan, that they sit all the winter with like snow and frost in their fur, sitting in these geothermal pools, keeping themselves warm. They're adorable. It felt a bit like that because you couldn't see. We couldn't see the opposite end of the pool because the sun was so low, because it never gets high up there at this time of year. And you could just see these sort of like shadowy heads looming out of the mist. You couldn't see the opposite side of the pool or anything like that. It was mesmerising and lovely. And then we got to put on the silica mud mask, and you go up to the mask bar. There's a lady whose job it is just to ladle out this handful of goop, and you just rub it over your face, leave it on for 10 minutes, and then you wash it off into the pool. And golly, all around the edge of the pool, the water leaves this white film as the silica collects there, mostly from our faces, I learned. But interestingly, for the last couple of months, I've had this weird patch of dry skin on my forehead, which has been really kind of problematic. And it's been very flaky, and I was worried that it was the beginning of psoriasis, which I've never had before, but I really didn't want to have it. Certainly not somewhere quite so prominently visible on my forehead. Well, a day at the spa, a day at the Blue Lagoon, and 10 minutes or 15 minutes of having this on there. When we got out of the pool, showered off, this had gone bright red, and it was really scaly. So I sort of picked as much as I could, and it's gone. It's still a little bit pink because that's the healing skin underneath, but that patch of, that's really too shiny, isn't it? And I've just been rubbing it, but that patch of pink there is no longer dry and scaly. All the claims seem to be absolutely true. It works. That's a nice at lighting conditions anyway. I noticed. Sort of set it up. Too bright, too shiny. That's much nicer. So absolutely extraordinary. On the plane on the way home, well, just before we got on the plane on the way home, I was at the airport, and they have a Blue Lagoon shop, and I've bought some of the silica mud. So if it does flare up, I'm going to start using it again. I've got another patch of it there. I think it's stress related. I think it's worry related, and the weather doesn't help either. So, but it does the job. So I think its claims can be upheld. So that was a glorious day. But then the second night, instead of going back to the Njarðvík, oh, it's a lot of syllables, a lot of sounds in it. Njarðvík. I learned that Vik means bay. So you have Reykjavik, Keflavik, Njarðvík. They're all different bays around Iceland, on the shores. And oh gosh, so the Magdalena Siri, who's Thoranna's mother and her father John, they have a summer home at a place called Flúðir, and Flúðir is much further inland. It's about an hour and 40 minutes drive from their home, or from where we were at the Blue Lagoon, and it's further inland, and it is this lovely little log cabin, like sort of chalet, wooden house with a loft area and a hot tub and it's in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and there'd be snow everywhere. It was just so beautiful. We spent 2 nights there having a wonderful time. We bought pizza, we watched television, we stayed up chatting, and we went into the hot tub and watched the Northern Lights twice in a row. Oh my goodness. And finally, on the 3rd night, we were there, absolutely putting on a wonderful show again. I got this photograph. I've put that on Instagram already. I promise you that was not taken with any filters. I have not messed with it. I've not done anything with it. I've not lightened it. It wasn't on any special settings. It was just my iPhone's camera pointed at the sky, and it got that. Quite remarkable. Golly. We are so lucky. We are so lucky. The weather was gorgeous all the time we were out of the city. And just I completely fell in love with the place. We went to Gullfoss. Gullfoss is, Gull means gold, and foss means waterfall. So it's interesting how words migrate around the world. We have force, meaning F-O-R-C-E, often means waterfall. So there's low force and high force up in, I think it's Cumbria, in Northumberland. Can't remember, sorry. And we've got a photograph in a painting, sorry, it says the style at high force. And force is from the Viking, foss. And Gull means gold, and it's spelt G-U-L-L. So some of the Icelandic pronunciations are eye-poppingly confusing to English, because they've got symbols that we don't have. The eth sound is a th, and then you've got the thod, which is the th sound, and they have uppercase and lowercase versions, and they're just symbols that we just don't have here. And then there's all the vowels with either an umlaut or an accent over the top, which changes the sounds of it. So I've been trying my best. And at one point Isolde said to me, so how do you cope with words like, and she said, and I rattled it back to her, and she was quite surprised. It turns out it was the name of the volcano which caused the ash cloud that caused so many problems over Northern Europe a few years ago, and it's called Eyjafjallajökull, and I had been practicing it, so Eyjafjallajökull is something I can say, but she's like didn't expect me to be able to do that at all. Interestingly, I want to start a research study program about the sound. It's the double L sound that doesn't go L, like so. Gut is gold, as I've just said. We went to a place called Brimketill, and that means brim is like a kind of troll or an elf, a giant, and Ketill is Ketill, K-E-T-I-L-L, looks like kettle, but it sounds like Ketill, and it's the sound at the end where you get the double L together, the 2 L's together, which I'm fascinated by because it's pronounced by closing the tongue around the inside of the gums and then releasing it on one side. With that little puff of air sound. Now, the Welsh double L, interesting it's an L as well, is also a lateral sound, but that comes out of both, doesn't have the t sound in it, doesn't have the little click at the beginning, but it comes out of both sides together. And I always thought it was in Icelandic, which is both sides, but it's not, it's only ever out of one side of the mouth. So I was doing this little bit of research, and both Thoranna and Karl, they go like I do out of the right hand side of their mouths. Both of their children, incidentally, do it on the left. The opening, the plosive release is on the left. And this blew my mind. None of them had ever thought about it. They think I'm possibly the only person in the world to ever have asked the question, which side of the mouth does the double L open on? But I'm wondering if that's something to do with the fact that when we, as children, when we're learning language, we'll often be learning visually as well. So if you can imagine, both of the children of Thoranna particularly, because she would have been the one having the most contact time with them as when they were learning language, would have been facing her. So if she's going there, that side, that's going to be on the same side of the mouth as them doing it on the left as they face each other. So we're wondering if it goes left, right, left, right, left, right, down the generations. I have no idea. That is honestly how my brain works. I'm so sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. You should be used to it by now, right? Fascinating stuff. And then we went up the top of this canyon. I'm puffing and panting because we just climbed up a bit of a mountain, so we can look at this river at sunset. So the sunset looks like that over there behind me, and then if I stand up, you can see exactly what there is below me. It's frozen water, the ice flows there, and then this way the river goes completely pink and beautiful as it reflects the clouds above. Wow, Iceland. Can't even, it just looks so, everything is so beautiful, everything is amazing. 2 days over in the beautiful summer house, and it's time for us to say goodbye to our hosts and be delivered into Reykjavik. I'm trying to do justice to the pronunciation. Please, forgive me if I'm butchering them, but I'm desperately trying not to be rubbish at this. And we had this amazing hotel. Ben had only booked it the night before. It was a little self-catering rooms. We had a little stove and a dishwasher and a sink in the just on the side worktop, and a little bed. I'm so tired. I've only flown home yesterday and I can't speak. And it was very, very nice. It was called the Townhouse, and it was on Laugavegur. Laugavegur is one of the sort of the downtown hipster streets in downtown Reykjavik, and Thoranna had given us a big list of things that we should do. One of them was go to Brauð, which means bread. Brauð is a fantastic bakery where they are famous for these cinnamon buns, which are absolutely exemplary, completely lovely. Then there was the big church, which whose name I can't remember, I'll put it on screen. Looks like this. Which is absolutely gorgeous and fascinating, and that was a stone's throw away from our hotel. But we also, that evening, the first evening we arrived in Reykjavik, we went to Kiki. Kiki is the gay bar, and it's so beautifully painted. It's all rainbow colours coming up from the street, because it's all upstairs. So you enter it downstairs and immediately go up to the second floor. But they've done that in paint, so you can see they've painted this beautiful 6-stripe rainbow over the whole thing, and the buildings either side are dark green and the building downstairs is grey. So what you get is this sort of this amazing hang on, there you go. So you get this amazing beautiful rainbow just completely sticking out of it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah. So that night there was a drag cabaret show. Ben and I love a bit of drag, and this particular drag queen was called Fake Knus. Fake news. Very funny. Knus spelled like this. Because Knus is the Icelandic word for cuddle, which is very nice, but she's fake news. It's very funny. She's brilliant. She's American when she's not fake news. And that night, she let on afterwards. She was very hungover when we were chatting to her afterwards, and she was really hoping that lots of people would join her in performing with her that night, because it was not karaoke, it was lip sync karaoke, which is obviously the drag thing. And I can't help myself when I see somebody who is trying to put on a show. It was a Sunday night. There was only about 15 people in the bar. I was like, yay! Trying to be the audience for her. I was like, poor woman. She's up there all on her own, and I know what it's like trying to wrestle a response out of an audience. So I was trying to be that big personality for her. So it was about, then she said, well, I'm going to have a break and change of clothes. I got a phone call, sorry about that. And now the phone's wobbling. That will stop in a moment. It's not a big bendy thing. So she said, put your name and the song that you want to do into the thing, and I will, and I'll pick your names. Well, Ben put my name in. We discussed it. I would, but I said don't do it yet, because I don't want to be the first person up there. I want to break it in gently. So he did, and I was the only person who put the name in the glass. I was the only person that performed, and I am telling you, I'm not going. Jennifer Holliday's version of it, not Jennifer Hudson from the film of Dreamgirls, but the original. And I got up and tore the house down. I was like, really loving it. I've never done anything like that before. It was exhausting. I've developed a whole new respect for people who do this kind of thing, and I think she was glad of a break. But it was kind of weird, because the audience was like, Ben said they were looking very appreciative and they were laughing at what I was doing. It was very funny, but again, not very effusive with their responses. Anyway, so we walked up and down the Laugavegur quite a lot over the next day or so. We popped into lots of shops, bought lots of things, and one of the things I bought was this necklace. You'll see it on Instagram. This is one of the Icelandic symbols, Norse symbols, and it's called the Ægishjálmur. Ægishjálmur. I'll do that again. Ægishjálmur. And it looks like that. And some of you might think it's rather familiar, because if you do think it's familiar, you'd be right, because I have it tattooed right there. And oddly, it's always the same size. So there is the Ægishjálmur, and it's the Helm of Awe, and it bestows invincibility on the wearer. But the interesting thing I learned about it was quite an interesting nuance for the meaning of what this is. It gives the wearer the potential to take on the characteristics and qualities of their enemy in order to defeat the enemy. So it's kind of a realistic look at battle and war, and the idea that you sometimes have to fight fire with fire, play dirty to win dirty, but if you are going to conquer your enemy, you have to know your enemies. All of those things are sort of wrapped up in it, and that's certainly been very useful over the last 6 months or so. So I've always felt a strong kinship with the symbol, because otherwise I wouldn't have put it on my arm 5-7 years ago, whenever that was. But I like to. I think it's aesthetically very pleasing as well. People go, oh, look, lovely snowflake. No, it's not a lovely snowflake. It is something much, 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 much more powerful than that. And I don't take it lightly, but I respect it and I value it very, very greatly. So, that was Iceland. It wasn't at all. It was not Iceland at all, not in one little bit, because I have another friend who lives in Iceland. Well, actually, do you know what? Before I even get onto that, this is lovely as well. There's so much more I could talk about. I could talk about this for hours, but I want to keep this short. Get on some knitting stuff. Too late. This one's going to be a long one. Yeah. And I have lots of Icelandic friends, it turns out. I have 2 Icelandic friends, Baldur Thorhalsson and Felix Bergsson. Felix is, I've known them for a few years, but haven't seen them for about 3 years. And they are a married couple. Felix is a very well-known actor in Iceland. He's an actor, a radio presenter, TV presenter, a voiceover artist. He does theatre. He's quite extraordinary. And Baldur is a lecturer in political science at the University in Reykjavik. So both very, very successful men, and we managed to grab an hour of their company while we were there. They hadn't met Ben before, so that was really nice to sort of join those 2 elements of my worlds together. And so lovely to see them. Really genuinely lovely. They are the kindest, sweetest, nicest men, and I adore them both. Right next door to that is a pond. Ben and I went skating on a pond. Not skating, walking. It is a lake and it is completely frozen and people playing football on it. And there are all these geese and ducks. Anyway, listen, I shot a couple of bits of footage and I'll edit those in here for you to have a look at. I appear to be standing on a completely frozen lake. So here we are in the centre of Reykjavik. There's Benjamin, but look down at my feet. I'm just literally skating around on ice. And Benjamin is also skating and dancing on ice. It's quite the weirdest, and it's Benjamin went over, experience, and incredibly hard to navigate on. I'm loving it. Up there for you guys. I think it's because their eyes are on the sides of their heads, they can't see where their beaks are. Oh, his eyes, he's got a broken eye. He's lost an eye.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
No wonder he can't.
No, in that case you get lots just given straight to you.
because you've lost an eye. Hello, listen to this. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, now that was a bit rough. Gently. Ow! Hello. Down there. Oh, I threw it on the wrong side of his face. I can't see it. Move.
I was filming the swans doing loving gestures to each other. They're a couple, these two.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah.
They like them. Oh, it's very gentle. Oh, he's really gentle.
Sweet one in the middle.
This one's nice as well. This one's nice. This one's shy. Go to your one, Ben. Go to that one. He's really shy.
Come over here. Oh, he's too shy.
Oh, you're lovely. And last one.
Hello. Oh no, that's a bit high for you, wasn't it? Come on, Pete. Yes. Do it in the other hand. Yeah. Would you like one? Oh no, you're just taking them all. And then you're grabby, aren't you? Yes.
There's a lovely one behind you.
Oh god.
This side, Ben. This side here.
Hello,
Probably
love.
want some.
Yes.
Listen to the swans. Oh, you're very soft and gentle, aren't you? Except for your friends.
A bit more delicate.
Yeah. That's for you. I know, right? These are our friends from earlier.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. We promised you. We did.
Oh no.
Don't discuss.
I can't really do. I'm a bit scared of you, Chum.
No, that's. Oh. You're very vicious, you are. What about you? Would you like some as well? No, this one. Ow! Sharp.
Hang on, Chum. I'm sorry. I don't know how to do this because you're frightening me. You're a bit
Ben,
scary,
try and
aren't
give them. No, it's this bit.
Very good.
Oh, they're having a good fight now.
Ow!
Isn't that nice? Hi! You just fell over, didn't you? And after all that fun, we just discovered there's a bit of a crack in the ice. Can you see that? Oh dear. Heading right across where we were skating. What fun was that? Literally terrified when we saw that crack. Terrified. But those ducks and those geese was just hilarious. I've got hours of footage of us filming those. They're raisins, by the way, and we did some research thinking we don't want to give them bread in case it sort of swells up inside them. Didn't want to do anything that might cause many problems, but I did do some research, and raisins are good for wild birds. So that was the choice behind that. We were skipping off to the museum. And not the museum, what am I talking about? To the supermarket, found the raisins and went back and spent a very happy half hour feeding those. And we gave handfuls to other people there who had families with kids. I said, do you want to have that? So they were sort of throwing the raisins as well. And everyone having a thoroughly lovely time. Then it was time to meet up with my other Icelandic friend, Rosa. Rosa and I met at Pom Pom in London a few years back, and she's so lovely. Rosa, I know you're going to be watching this, so forgive me, I don't want to make you blush too much, but I'll talk about you, not to you. Rosa is one of the most generous, kind-hearted, most warm-spirited people I've ever had the good fortune to run across in my life, and she knows me through the podcast, and when we met, she wanted to give me back along a few years back, she wanted to give me some yarn and as a little thank you for her enjoyment of what I've been doing with this over the years. Well, when she found out I was coming to Iceland, she got back in touch and said, was I coming for the yarn festival? That's at the end of April. And I said, no, we're coming now, but I will want to meet you. So we arranged to spend the afternoon together, and we spent a long time together. It was lovely, actually. So Rosa had planned to take us on a little yarn crawl around some of the shops. And do you remember I said in the podcast last time that I wasn't planning to do any of this kind of stuff because I wasn't really sure if I'd be very welcome and wouldn't want to cause any awkwardness for anybody. She put my mind at rest and said that she would take me to places and introduce me to some of her friends, and that it would all be very, very safe and very, very nice and welcoming. So I took her at her word, and off we went. So we went to 4 different shops, and so much more I haven't told you about as well. I'm remembering it all the time. So we went to 4 different shops, and I'm not going to be able to remember the names of all of them. I'm so sorry, but also I really don't want to sort of cause any problems for anybody either. But one of the things that we bought some of this. Look at these 2 colours. Aren't they lovely? That would be the sunniest natured hat in the world. I bought some. It's handprjon.is. Prjona is the Icelandic word for knitting, not the doing of it, but when you have some knitting, that is prjona. This is handlitað a Íslandi fyrir handprjón úr. Now that means hand dyed in Iceland, especially for hand knitting. I think that's what that means, handprjón. Or for this company. Maybe it's for the hand knitting, or yes, it's that capital, so it will be. I'm translating it like as if I know much about Icelandic. I know a little bit. But aren't those colours gorgeous? I think they're going to go very nicely together. I know that's Swedish colours and I was in Iceland. Shh, don't write in. Very, very lovely. And at the same shop, I also Ben bought this for me. Never seen one of these before. It's a little neck light that you can wear when you're knitting in the dark. There we go. So I can see what I'm knitting, and you can make it flexy into. Hang on. There we are, and you can point it at whatever you want to point it at, and make it. You know. I haven't actually knitted with it, but I think it's quite powerful. Useful for knitting in the car, better than a headlight because it means I can still move my head and not lose my place on there. It's all good. So that's kind of funny. It's very flexible. I don't know how durable it will be. I don't know how long the batteries will last. It takes 2 AA batteries that go in this back part here. It's very comfortable. It causes absolutely no problems at all. It's very. I'm not doing any
commission. I don't know what I'm saying about it really, so it was kind of fun. And this is Handprion, the bag there. It's very pink. I don't dislike pink. I mean, I've knitted with some pink. I don't like the big bold pink, so big bold pink is good for me. But Rosa as well is so terribly, terribly sweet. She bought some stuff for me from dyers who are her friends in Iceland, and she gave these wonderful things to me. This is called Sjálfminstrandi. Oh, that's self-striping. Yeah, I do know that. So this is self-striping yarn from Hex Dye Works, and Hex Dye Works is Edda. Edda, we went to her shop and had a lovely time wandering around there. I'll show you something else. Edda is a very, very artistic lady. This particular the colourway is called Edda. Now it's not dyed by Edda, but it's dyed for the shop. And because this particular colourway is the colours of the shop, so the blues, the yellows, those are big sort of panels on the walls, and the grey is the ceiling, and so that's very, very lovely. And so thank you, Rosa. I shall very much enjoy that. This is Perfect Sock, which is Vatnsnes yarn, Vatnsnes yarn there, and it's Perfect Sock. This is called Upprisa, and Upprisa means resurrection. And it was chosen because Rosa is saying that she very much is enjoying my resurrection from all the horrors I endured last year. And now we come on to this one, which is from Dottir Dye Works. Dottir, of course, means daughter, but look, I love this logo here. The Dottir, the little T's are the faces of the sheep. Dottir Dye Works. And this beautiful, beautiful royal blue is called Blue Suede Shoes. Now, people with long memories will remember that when I got married, I wore some bright electric blue suede shoes, very similar colour to these. Well, Rosa's friend watched that and was inspired by that to dye this based on those shoes. I can't even begin to say how that makes me feel. It's quite extraordinary. I don't think I'll ever be able to knit with this because I love the fact that it's blue suede shoes and it's my kind of wedding outfit and inspired by it. Thank you. That's so beautiful. I just like, I don't know what to say. I'd love to thank you personally, but I'm hoping you're watching this because I don't have any other way of getting in touch. Rosa, if you're watching, please pass on my thanks to all three of your lovely dyeing friends for the colours here. They are lovely, and I will certainly enjoy working with all of them except that one, which I would enjoy keeping. Now, I said about Edda being a very she makes these little bags. Rosa bought one of these for me as well. It says on it Hvað þetta bara uppáhaldsliturinn minn. Did I get that even close? Hvað? Which means what? This is just my favourite colour. Orange with spots on it. Very orange, I can't really see in that light. Very orangey and very spotty. But in there I bought from Edda because I found this on the wall for sale. I didn't just steal it. This is her own. So Edda Lilia draws these lovely little characters, and can you see this person is singing and as a microphone is using a skein of yarn. I was like, well, I have to have this. This has to come home with me and go on the wall in this very room because I am the man who makes his living out of singing and knitting. This is probably a self-portrait of Edda, but it could easily be me. And I kind of like the fact that it's fairly gender-neutral hair. So Edda, I don't know where I'll be putting our oh, is that going to stand up on its own? Yeah, it will, but I need to bring this out here. I want to make sure that that goes somewhere. I'm not going to stand up like that, I'm actually going to put it on the wall, but you can stay there for now and everyone can enjoy your lovely handiwork. As well in there, I haven't had a chance to even open it yet, was this Icelandic Lopi Sweater. This is a book by Ásdís Jóelsdóttir. Ásdís Jóelsdóttir, who has made this book. It's still wrapped up. This is all about Lopi design, which is looking forward to getting my eyes into. And there's also this Icelandic hand knits book by Helena Magnusson. So there'll be lots of inspiration in there, I think, because I was inspired by my time in Iceland, and I really want to sort of prove that. But also, these are beautiful. So this is an Icelandic wool in 5 shades. This was also a gift from Rosa. I was showered with gifts. I felt very, very special. Slightly embarrassed by all the attention, but very much enjoyed it. And to everybody who I met while I was there, everybody whose shop I visited, I want to say thank you. Thank you for hosting me there and being so nice and kind and supportive. It really means a lot. And even if your thoughts about me were different this time, well, 6 months ago, I hope that what I've done is I've proved to you that this is the genuine person. This is who I am, and I didn't know before I met any of you what your previous thoughts may have, or may not have been. So that isn't what I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just being me, and either way, I hope that has worked out for everybody. Thank you very much. Oh, the other thing we did, and thank you Rosa as well, obviously, we went out for dinner afterwards, and you've earned a very special place in my heart and in Ben's heart, and we absolutely adored spending time with you and getting to know you, and thank you for driving us around in your car, even though it was complaining horribly about the extra body's weight. You know what I mean. We had a wonderful time seeing you, and Ben and I have always said the same. We like being tourists, but we like being tourists from an insider's point of view. So whenever we get a chance to be with people who live in the city or the place that we're visiting, it's always so much more special to be able to see their side of the city. And Rosa, you gave that to us. Very, very, very lovely. Thank you. We also went to the Willy Museum. Oh my goodness, it was disgusting. It's the Phallological Museum. It's a whole museum about specimens of penises. Oh, for anyone who hasn't seen it, I think this one probably needs to sort of be conjured up from the ground. It was an unfortunate hand gesture, wasn't it? Look. That, my friends, is an elephant's phallus. Let's say goodbye to that, shall we? Oh, it's so horrible. Most of the specimens they have there are in jars and pickled in formaldehyde, have been cut from the animal. They have a lot of whale and dolphin and porpoise and narwhal penises there. I guess that's because that's the kind of climate and inhabitants of the ocean. They do have 3 human penises as well. It's all a bit unsavoury. All donated by, they were when the people who used to own these members were alive, they signed things say they wanted to donate their organs for I don't want to be disrespectful. It was foul. Ben was feeling quite queasy as we were walking around. I was just laughing like a schoolboy. I couldn't stop myself. But we did want to buy some souvenirs, and most of the souvenirs were really, really tacky. I didn't like them at all. But sorry about that, I just didn't. But they had some bags I really do like, tote bags. I use tote bags all the time for knitting, carrying knitting supplies in, but look at this one. It is brilliant. I can go out with this and no one will necessarily know what it is, but you all will. Isn't that fantastic? Specially commissioned for the Phallological Museum in Reykjavik. Stop now. I did a lot of knitting while I was there. I really did. I've put some mileage on to my moon phase scarf. I've now done 6 of this is the central, this is the 5th and the center, which is why it's half and half. So the moon phases as they go along look like this. So there's the faux fringe at one end, there's the dark moon, the little crescent becoming more and more and more apparent as we get up to the half moon here, and then I've just done the next one as the dark section is getting smaller and smaller. So I've got 3. Must learn, this is very gets in your mouth, this one. So this is done obviously in the Sockmatician yarn, Sockmatician edition yarn, and the colourways are Delavery, which is the dark grey, and Bruton, which is the lovely midnight blue. And of course it's double knitted brioche. This one's going in the book, but it's definitely double knitted brioche and double knitting sections for the moon phases themselves, which are just so lovely, and they sit there very beautifully as part of the you know, they really are very much a part of the scarf. They're not sewn in afterwards or anything like that. So that's coming along very, very well. But I also wanted to start doing some stuff while I was there just for Iceland, and I've come up with an idea. I don't know if anyone's come up with this before. I haven't done any research on this at all. It may or may not be my own idea. It was my idea, but it may not be mine first. And I'm calling this, well, let me show it to you first. Here's what it looks like. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting shape. It's Etta the other day immediately went and put it on like this, and it could easily be a very, very warm forearm warmer, which you can, with a drawstring, you can make nice and tight. It's actually very nice, and actually could work very, very nicely with some skin showing there. I've never really done that before. It looks absolutely gorgeous. That wasn't what it was intended for, although it's an absolutely very valid way of wearing it. I'm calling this, and I do love the name, and I am aware of what it means, I'm calling this the Cuff Muff. I should just let you think about that for a moment. Because it is a muff. You put your hand in it. Stop. And you can wear it like this. This is what this is for. The drawstring can keep you nice and warm with one enormous great big hand, and you can still, it's very loose enough, you can still pick things up with it. However, the idea behind it is that you have it like this, and you can stick the other hand in as well. So this one will go under your coat, and this one will probably go over your coat. So you've got the ability to just wear this like this, and rather than with gloves where you're always having to fiddle and take things off, you can just take your hand out with your dominant hand, do anything you like. You always wrap that up like that, or pull the drawstring tight. As you can see, it's just a plaited drawstring which has gone through a series of eyelets which I worked into the top section here. But let's give you a little bit more. Obviously, the main body of this is worked in double knitted brioche and looks very, very tidy like that. You could, if you wanted to, although I'm going to come up with a slightly different design, you could always cuff it back halfway. So the cuff inside is inside your sleeve, and the sleeve goes into the hollow there. So then you've got a very, very large wrist warmer, which actually works very nicely as well, just to keep that part of your hand. Or you could make sure you just cuffed the very end bits back, so you can have it at any length you want for whatever warmth you need. You could make 2. If you wanted to, you could make 2 and wear them like this, or wear them as Etta did as the sleeve. Being, of course, double knitted brioche, it is 100% reversible. The only thing with this one is love, isn't it? But the drawstrings are either going to be on the inside or the outside. That's the only thing that's not reversible about it. But I love this detail. I love this contrasting band of pearl stitches there. Interestingly, no increases at all. This is just a transition from double knitting to double knitted brioche. I love this. I really, really do. I wore it a lot while I was out there, and it really does. You can just turn the cuff back like that, and actually have the tassels as a bit of decoration. So there's all sorts of ways you can wear this. I think it's really, really versatile and really very, very useful. But I wanted to experiment with this idea a little bit further. So this is the cuff muff, but then we've got, I can't even stop myself from laughing. This is the cuff muff double ender. That's it. That's it. And what you do is you stick one hand in each end, and rather than being open like the other ones, if you've got an active day and you want to keep taking your hands out while you're doing stuff, then you use the open-ended one. Otherwise, you can use this one. Now, this is the one that I Instagrammed the other day, and I've gone for a slightly different design in the centre here, but it literally is one hand in either side, and it's so warm because your hands are warming each other up. You're using your own, so you can either link, you can't see what I'm doing, so you can either have your hands like this or like that, or there's room for that. There's room in there for your mobile phone as well, so you can hold on to that, or what you can do is you can still pull one hand out. It's ever so easy to get your hand back in. There you go, like that. When you just pull it out, start doing things, and pop your hand back in and use the other hand to push the cuff over your sleeve. So that is my cuff muff. That's the double ender. I really, really like this. I think it's a very, very versatile, flexible, useful, and again, totally reversible. See, this is I've gone for the gold knit stitches here, and then the contrast in the center section there, but you can obviously turn it inside out and show it the other way, and being double knitted brioche, it is equally beautiful on the inside as it is on the outside. So that is what I was knitting. I actually didn't quite finish the double ender while I didn't quite finish the double ender while I was in Iceland. This is worth something from the Phallological Museum, isn't it? Hello, how are you? My name's Cuff Muff. But it's really, really useful. It's incredibly warm, incredibly beautiful, and it's a cuff muff. It's a muff with cuffs, right? That's all it is. It's a cuff muff. But really, really very flexible. And also, you don't have to worry about losing one end because they're both joined together, and your hands are going to be much warmer than they otherwise would be. I think that's lovely. Golly, that was quite a lot. That's what I've been doing. But now the last thing I want to talk about in today's podcast is I don't really know where to start. When I was in New Zealand 18 months ago, I was teaching in Auckland, and one of the people who took my class was someone that I had become friendly with on Instagram already. Was it Instagram? Anyway, it might have been Ravelry, but I think it was Instagram. And she's a designer in her own right, and she designs under the name Handmade by Smine, S-M-I-N-E, Smine. And she is a brilliant designer, and she had never done some double knitting, or maybe she'd done a little bit. I can't remember. Have you done a little bit before? I can't remember. Anyway, she wanted to take my class, wanted to see how I taught. That's right, she wanted to see how I was going to be teaching the stuff, and she was kind of inspired by my story a bit. And let me get some stuff online. Hang on a second. This will just take me a little while to bring up. I should have done this already. Because when I teach my double knitting classes, I use a little heart as a teaching tool. Make a little coaster with a heart on it. I should have brought it up to have nearby, but I didn't. And she has asked to keep her name out of this for personal reasons. So Smine is who I will talk to her as. So here we go. So she designed 3 patterns about using, with my permission, I'm burbling because I want to do that. So I'll just read what it says on the page for this. 3 designs that she wanted to use to raise money for different HIV charities. I was talking about my HIV status, also because I had just launched the Sockmatician edition range yarn, and all of the colourway names are HIV pioneers or LGBT innovators. So she wanted to write these patterns and asked if she could use the heart as a motif for it. So there's a hat, a cowl and a scarf, and they're called Unity. And this is the hat here. I'll just read what it says here. It says, written especially for the Moody Hughes Sockmatician Edition 4-ply Possum Blend yarn, which was created in collaboration with the UK-based knitting designer and teacher Sockmatician, aka Nathan Taylor, in the pride flag rainbow of colours plus 2 shades of neutral grey. More information about that can be found here. and you just look at the colours of that. Look at, and this one changed to the crown there. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? So the crown is there. Sorry, the hat is there. Let's get rid of the hat and bring in the look. This is a cowl as well. Absolutely lovely. Really, really gorgeous. That's the cowl, and here is the scarf that goes with it as well. So you can have a look. Let's get rid of that. So here's the information about where you can find them. They're called Unity, as in U-knit-Y, Unity, and it's about harmony and bringing communities together, which is everything that I've always been about anyway. So I couldn't be more pleased that Smine wanted to do this. Now, most of the money from these, is going to local New Zealand-based HIV charities, and Smine really wanted to use her creativity to make a very, very positive difference. Now, isn't that so much better than tearing people down and trying to be negative about stuff? Trying to use creativity to make a positive difference is what I am all about, and it's certainly what Smine is all about. And these are fundraisers for the HIV charities. Let me just read a little bit what it says here for who they are. So the selected charities are Body Positive Inc., which is bodypositive.org.nz, specific to the NZ Wellness Fund, which they manage, and the New Zealand AIDS Foundation, nzaf.org.nz. So you can see where this money is going. And so she wanted to use the heart and the colours in the rainbow to create this stunning, I think they're absolutely beautiful. I couldn't have been more touched that she wanted to use the work that I had done and my teachings and my story and my message as a way to create something useful and beautiful. She asked my permission first of all, and of course I said yes, and she was also asking my advice what charity I would want them to be donated to, and I said I don't think that's up to me to decide. It's your creativity and your hard work going into this. I suggested maybe if it was specifically HIV charities that she wanted to be able to support, because of where the inspiration for the patterns had come from, then I thought maybe local HIV charities would be the way to go, because she's from New Zealand, and just going to the World Health Organization or some global thing, it would just be going like throwing it into a great big void. Not that I'm saying that large charities don't need lots of money, but she wanted to be able to make a really appreciable difference somewhere, and I felt it was something that she should be able to see the benefits of that locally. And she chose those two, and she couldn't have done a better job. So I would like to say, if you like those things, head over to the Ravelry pages, and the information, I'll put that at the end of this podcast. I'll give you all the links, and I'll also link to it in the box below this video, so you can just click on the links and go. I think it's a really, really important cause. I think it's a really important way to show awareness. It's more advocacy, and that's what I am all about. So I'll also link to the two charities in the box below here as well, so you can see exactly what the money is going towards helping. Thank you so much, Smine, for doing this, and I really hope that many of you will choose to buy these designs and show support that way. Initially, she wasn't going to take a single penny, and everything was going to go there. And I was the one, I forced her not to. I said, you've put a lot of work into this, you need something to cover your time and effort. So she's taking a small cut herself, but the large proportion of everything is going straight to the charities, which is absolutely incredible. So dig deep if you can and support those charities. And it sounds like a horrible plug now. Obviously, it was designed for my yarn. If you've got some of my yarn left over and you want to know what to do with it, then this is a great way of using it up. They both use much more of the two greys than they do of the colours. But if you need to top up, then if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, go to skeins.nz. That's a lie, skeins.com. Oh, sorry Marie. Go to skeins.com and you can purchase there. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you can go to the Sockma shop at sockmatician.com and get your hands on the correct colours. I think that's all there is to say about it. I'm sorry if I've left anything out, but do support those worthy causes, and thanks so much to Smine for doing that. I was initially going to talk about all of this 6 months ago, but things changed, and I wanted to let the dust settle a bit before I did this, because I didn't want to cause any problems for Smine or for the charities themselves by association with me. But I think the time has come. The time has come to get rid of that last flying whatever and stop hiding, and to come back into the world the way I should be here, doing what I do, making a positive difference by building people up, because that's what I've always been all about and will continue to be all about too, and clearly Smine is as well, so thank you for that. And that's it. This has been too long, too wordy, too garbly, too burbly, but I am delighted that you've chosen to spend some time with me today. Thank you very much for that, and I look forward to seeing you on the next edition of the Sockmatician podcast. Until then, while this podcast episode might be a finished object, and very nearly is, remember, life is a work in progress. Just take it one stitch at a time. Happy knitting, happy February, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. Hello, it's me again. Don't worry, the podcast really is over. I've just popped in, however, to say if you enjoyed it and you want to make sure you never miss another episode, why not click on this handy little subscribe button right here. Don't say I never do anything for you. Or if you're worried that you might have missed out on some really fun stuff from previous episodes, I've got a playlist link for you here, which has got all of the previous Sockmatician podcast episodes on it, so you never need to feel out of the loop again. Bye for now.